So you're out there being the bad guy, and obviously a variety of roles from long range to close in, but let's dig into that just a little bit and talk about your adversary days and what that was like.
Well, even so, I first went to Top Gun in 2000, stayed till late 2002. And we were, when we were there at the time, Rain, we were told F-16s are coming. Now, those who know naval aviation adversary history, there were F-16Ns purpose-built for the Navy in the 80s. Evidently, those things were rocket ships. We were getting A's and B's, Block 15s. There were 28 that were, as I understand it, supposed to go to Pakistan. Pakistan detonated a nuke because they were at odds with India, and the State Department said, nope, you're not getting those. So they went straight from Dallas area, wherever they make those, I guess Fort Worth, straight to the boneyard and were preserved. And then the Air Force and the Navy said, hey, we could use those. So as I understand it, you got 14, we got 14, 10 A's, 4 B's, and we turned them into adversaries. We were told the whole time I was there, they're coming, they're coming. And the first one, I kid you not, showed up the weekend I was leaving. I tried not to look at it. I walked by with the blinders on, damn it.
Yeah.
And, but fast forward to 2013, I get my wings back because of the medical thing, which again is sort of the big climax of my book. And I go there and I learn how to fly the F-16 A and B. And then before long was the head of those and an instructor as well. And I tell people, although I have to caveat this, Rain, I tell people, I think it's like this. The F-18 is like my wife, trustworthy, I know it real well. It's where I want to be. The F-16, and again, I say I think it's like this because I don't know, was like that hot, a little fling over here. It handles different. It flies different. It smells different. And anyway, again, I hope she's not in the living room over there.
Wait a minute.
Because I only think it's like that. But
it's got in trouble.
It was amazing. I can remember a couple backseat flights because we had meetings to go to or something. I was like, this is cool. And then my first front seat flight, I could have done solo because the instructor, I think he did take the controls just to demonstrate a HAPL or something. After that much experience flying F-18s, it was just a different place to reach for the stick over to the right instead of two of my legs. And then one engine instead of two, and a few other things. The visibility was amazing. The performance was incredible. But I know you haven't asked this yet, but the biggest change for me, Rain, was, again, dogfighting, BFM, ACM. I'd get over the top and I'd look down at you and I'd say, oh yeah, baby, I've been here before. And I would try to break the damn stick off because I wanted more than the, what was it, 26?
AOA limit. Limit.
Yeah. And it wouldn't give me a bit more. I was like, come on. All I got to do is point at him right now. The F-18 would give me that all day long. And the F-16 would not. So I had to relearn a little bit of basic dogfighting there.
The AOA, it would be nice just once, like, hey, I want to override this. I know I'm cashing in all my chips, but I would really like to point at this guy and I promise I won't go out of control. Like if I could just have
evidently, it's bad enough if you do that they wouldn't let us. So
So the engineers were like, no, that's why we have that. Yeah. You're not going to get this opportunity, which I only got to fight Hornets once doing BFM. And, as my instructor was briefing me everyone has a different game plan, rate fight, like if you're going to go use the angles, if you're going to use the speed, Viper, we know stay fast. But when a Hornet turns and points at you across the circle, it's just like, okay, I got to be calm for a minute. I got to survive this one shot because he just cashed in all his energy and now it's mine. But you got to survive that first shot. Yeah. But how many hours did you get flying as an adversary?
Well, as an F-16 adversary, 170. So I would not necessarily call myself a combat pilot. I tell people I flew the F-16, but I don't ever say I was a Viper driver. I mean, I just don't think that's, for guys like you, fair. But I did fly it and I did enjoy it. But yeah, it was 170.
Obviously the mission set for what you were doing, I mean, it's used for a different purpose. Primarily, again, go out there and be a bad guy, give a different presentation. Being able to do dissimilar BFM is so much, I mean, it's great. Not saying it's better, but going out there and actually fighting someone who has a different performance, different airplane versus going F-16 versus F-16, and someone's got to go mil power only to kind of replicate or, to change things up, or it's just mano a mano, fly your best machine.
Yep. And in the early F-18, let me rephrase that. In the early Top Gun training where I struggled with the defensive, it wasn't another F-18. It was similar because I think the idea was, hey, we want you to see what can be done here. And if these are equal aircraft, different pilots, and there is an outcome that's not the way we want, well, guess what? We can attribute that to something other than the aircraft.
Yeah, 100%. You exploit there. You're always exploiting the errors, but if you are on an equal playing field, then it's clearly identified what those errors are. Yeah. And it wasn't a performance of the jet. As we kind of get towards the end here, one, I hope you're willing to hang around for a There I Was story.
Sure.
Again, I'm excited that putting this book together, I know was no small feat. So I do want to kind of hit on some of the highlights of why you decided to write a book. What was the process like? How long did it take?
I decided to write the book, as we talked about in the little book promo you helped me out with the day it launched. Thank you very much. For two main reasons. Well, two and a half. Number one, I had an audience. I had the Fighter Pilot Podcast, and like Captain Miller and Saving Private Ryan, they didn't know my background. And I have this other circle, this story of when I was 39 years old and in the prime of my life, and I had not screened to be the commanding officer of a squadron. And I thought, that's fine. I'm just going to fly my entire career and not have those concerns and all the things that come with command leadership. Well, in the middle of that, I was diagnosed with a life-threatening medical issue. And I not only was pulled right out of the cockpit and into the OR within like a couple days of each other, but then I battled back and found my way back into a cockpit, believe it or not. And so at the time, people were telling me, Jell-O, nobody comes back from that kind of surgery and flies again. And I said, all right, well, I'll let the medical folks tell me that. I'm just going to keep trying. And that's why I ended up in an MBA program also, because I thought, well, shoot, if I get out of the Navy and can't have anything to show for my flying, whether it's airlines or whatever, I'm going to need to look a little better on a resume. So started doing that. And I was glad I did. It was a lot of work, but I now have those letters next to my name. It just that whole story, which I know I'm being a little coy about, but I'm trying to save people to read it because it's a fascinating story, I think. Those two reasons are my biggest reasons for wanting to write a book. If I didn't have a podcast, I don't know that I would have written a book. And if I didn't have that amazing medical thing, I don't know that I would have written a book either. So it was that little two-circle Venn diagram. And then the half reason is simply, again, as we talked about at the top, one of my personal crusades on the Fighter Pilot Podcast is to just beat back the Hollywood stereotypes of fighter pilots. And I wanted people to see that, no, we're like the guy next door or gal next door. And we don't all have supreme confidence. We're not all perfectly good at everything. And as we've talked about here over the last hour so far, I've struggled and I've had my shortcomings and self-doubt. And that is what a real fighter pilot looks like, not what you see on the silver screen.
Yeah. And this was several years in the making, I would imagine, right?
I don't remember exactly when I started, but I know it was before June 16th, 2021, and that's coming up here on 4 years. So I think it was about 5 years of writing. And I particularly mentioned that date because the book is dedicated to my brother, and that was the day, unfortunately, I lost him. And at the end, there is an afterword that talks about that day. And I'll tell you this, you didn't ask it, but I'll tell you, everyone I think should write their book, including you, Rain. Find an audience and write your book because it is cathartic and it's amazing. It's a journey. But in a similar weird way that, maybe someone stands in front of the mirror and like if they've been working out, like, oh, I look good, bear with me here. I read the afterword that I wrote. So again, kind of like standing in front of the mirror, and it makes me emotional, which is really bizarre because I wrote it. But it chronicles that day, and the book is dedicated to him, and he shows up a lot in the book. He and I were best friends. People thought we were twins. So yeah. Anyway, about 5 years.
Man, I actually do. I do remember when you shared that on social media and seeing a picture of your brother. You guys did look exactly alike almost, man. The twins, not a far stretch.
Well, we would, so if we went fly fishing or doing something together, we would sit down at a restaurant, let's say, and, the waitress would come up. Hi guys, how you doing? Oh, hey, are you guys twins? And so as the younger brother, I would always say, no, we're 2 years apart. Who do you think's older? And they would look at him, look at me, look at him, look at me. And I blame it on night traps, Rain, but they'd look at me and say, you.
Dang it.
And I'd say, dang it.
Yeah. Oh, well, what's next for you?